Welcome to the Faith and Family Trailblazer Podcast, part of the Digital Trailblazer Podcast family. This podcast is dedicated to bringing you experts and trailblazers who can help you and your family grow closer together, closer to God, and thrive in a challenging world. Welcome, Trailblazers. It's Lea Rae Getts, and with me today is Io Haynes. Io, welcome to the show. We're excited to have you with us. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience? Let us know what you're about.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here. My name is Io Haynes, and I'm an open adoption success coach, which simply means I help women, especially in their singles who are single in their 40s and 50s, become mothers through adoption. And then I walk them through the process of open adoption, where they have a relationship with a birth family, which is for the betterment of the whole adoption triad, which would be adoptive parent, adopted child, birth parent.
Yes. And I love this topic because we are an adoptive family. So we have two currently. We're in the process of adding a third. For now, I don't know how many we'll end up with, but so I love adoption. I think adoption should be celebrated. It should be, and birth parents and everything should be celebrated. It's a beautiful conversation. So I'm curious. So how did this turn into like a coaching business for you? Where did this come from?
Well, it came from life experience, right? I became a mother in my 40s, to 46 to be exact. And that was after in my 30s, going back and forth to doctors and all the things that we as women do when you find out there's this problem, there's that problem, you need this procedure, and spending a lot of money. And then I decided to go the route by myself because I wasn't in the relationship at that key point in my fertility window. And I tried IVF and IUI. It did not work for me. And then I realized I can keep putting thousands and thousands of dollars into trying to become a mother this way, or I can become a mother through adoption, which had been modeled for me in my family several times, but more specifically through a cousin who adopted her son by herself. And that's how it started. I became a mom. My journey, it was pretty incredible. And as I was going through the process and this wonderful layer of open adoption became available, and I started exploring it, not having any means of copying somebody. I just started this on my own as a desire for the kind of relationship I wanted to have with the birth family. I realized I had a lot to teach other people, and my daughter had given me so much joy in being able to give me the dreams of my life, which was to become a mother. And over time, I decided I had a lot to share that I needed to share with others who could really enjoy the same kind of happiness that I've experienced.
I love that. Yeah, I can't imagine life without our kiddos, and I pray for the birth families and daily and just thank the Lord for this opportunity and this blessing. So what now? Open adoption, I think that is sort of a cautious word for a lot of people. Like they're kind of scared of it, right? So can you talk a little bit about what that really looks like and sort of the pros and cons of it so people can kind of understand that more fully?
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that makes people pause the most. They're like, open adoption. First of all, adoption, when you hear it, brings up such fear for so many reasons. Some naturally, and then some that are just not founded. I think some have been orchestrated and put into the process that has then unfortunately continued on throughout the term of adoption, and it strikes fear in people's hearts when it doesn't have to, in my opinion. I really don't believe, not all situations are going to lend themselves to open adoption. You have to be aware of your own personal situations, the situations of the birth family, in order to make a decision of how open it will be. I think people these days have open adoptions that are wherein they know the name and the situation of the birth family, but they have no relationship. So really it's a semi-open adoption, right? When I say open adoption, I'm not saying that they're coming to dinner every single week if you work up to that, then great. But I'm saying that there is an open dialogue. There's an open exchange of pictures on both sides, so that if there are questions that I may have as an adoptive mother, like my daughter grew 7 inches in 1 year. And I said, who's tall in your family? Being able to have that conversation with the birth mother to find out very easily in a text, they're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And I can see pictures of her extended family over time that has developed. And she can see who's in my daughter's life that is important for me to show her, if that's what I want, right? So it's very individualized. It really makes sense for the child, especially in my opinion, because it gives them a place of, or a sense of not having questions as to why the adoption happened, why they're not with their birth family. If there are other children, why were they the ones that were given up? So it's a way of answering questions and solidifying a healthy mindset for that child going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm curious, when a lot of birth family situations are not ideal, and hence adoption is the right choice for them and the child. When it comes to openness, what are your thoughts on the situation, if you will? So I don't want to get into too much detail, but obviously a lot of people might deal with substance abuse or mental health issues or other things like that, where it's like, okay, if you're clean, we can see you, or we can interact, or we can do whatever. Do you set up boundaries like that, or what are your thoughts around all that?
Boundaries are very, very important, and they come over time as well. Like you let down the boundaries as trust is built. You're not going to just have a meet and greet at the very first meeting, or time to establish a contact. That's not where you start, right? You start with text, with pictures, and you get a feeling and a sense if the birth family and the birth mother parents are trustworthy, that they are emotionally invested in the well-being of the child, and they're not going to say or do something that's going to cause physical or psychological damage to the child. So a lot of the openness starts with you and the birth family initially, just getting a sense, feeling for each other. Do you like each other? Do you like spending time with each other? Do they respect you for being in their child's life? Now, if we're talking about a foster to adopt situation, those situations tend to be very contentious because the parental rights have been removed by the court, and the birth parents may still want to parent that child. And so anybody coming in on the other side, it may be very contentious. But in a traditional adoption scenario, it's not that way generally. The birth parents generally want to know if they have made the right decision and who they chose to parent their child. They want to be able to see that that child has more with that adoptive parent than they could have ever given to their own child. For instance, my daughter's birth mother was extremely young. In my daughter's first year, we traveled to 5 different countries before the pandemic, right? Not something that a young mother is going to be able to do, but there's joy in knowing that her child is living the life that she envisioned for her child that she couldn't give.
Right.
And with the interaction over time, and our interaction wasn't first with each other. Our interaction was first, my interaction was with her mother because of age. And then when she became of age, we started interacting. So over time, you start to go, okay, well, maybe it's time for a face-to-face. And for us, it's once a year. It may develop into longer, more frequent, but it's really individualized with each family.
Absolutely. So what do you think are some of those challenges or struggles that really arise for women who are looking to do this on their own? They're kind of sick and tired of waiting, and they're ready to give give their love to a child and open up their home to a child in need. Walk us through what that looks like for someone, especially maybe in their 40s or older.
So I start everyone off who works with me with a questionnaire. There's no right or wrong answers. It's very easy. It's not intimidating, but it walks you through what is it that you really want? What's your heart's desire? Do you have a circle of friends and community that can help you? What will your friends and family say based on your desire to be a parent and go this adoption route? Because everyone does have an opinion. I'll tell you that. Whether
Yes.
you want to hear it or not, they will give it to you. So I start with building our moms up with being very sure about what it is that they want. For me, I call it my life non-negotiable. And I ask my clients exactly that. Is being a mother a life non-negotiable? For me, it was. I tried every other way. It didn't work. So adoption became my way. If it's not your life non-negotiable, I want you to think about whether this is the time for you to go through it. But if you're in your 40s or even in your 50s and time is literally running out, you don't have a partner, but you have this huge desire, then the time is now. And to make it so that there's nothing that stands in your way, you're so focused on attaining your goal that no matter what someone says, as long as it's, not selfish on their part, it's important to take in advice, obviously. But if you have made your decision that this is something that you want for your life, then go ahead and pursue it. And I will help you through that process.
Yes, absolutely. And I feel like, so I'm actually curious for if you're the older part of 40s into 50s, do you find that adopting older children is often the route, or is that still starting fresh with the baby? What does that
It
look like?
depends. I mean, I have a friend who, when we were both going through the adoption process, she didn't want a baby. She wanted like a 2-year-old and above. So it depends. It really depends on your heart, right? She ended up going overseas, where there are a lot of older babies there. Domestically, I mean, I should older children. Domestically, you'll find more babies here, because the overseas you have to wait. There's so many waiting processes, and there's a lot of paperwork. But if you want a baby domestically, this is probably going to be your best choice. And then you can still do the foster to adopt as well. So a client of mine, she's in her early 50s, and she just brought home her baby. And the baby, I was helping with babysitting yesterday because everything is so new. She doesn't even have her sitters lined up yet. So that's part of my job, even very hands-on with the coaching and helping her walk through what it is that you need for the baby physically, and it's too early for right now to be talking with her about the open adoption process. Right now we're in bring baby home process, but she is aware of my journey and what my coaching is about. So we're just little by little putting the pieces in. And obviously it's very new for the birth parent. We don't even know to what extent the birth parent is open to that. But I have to clarify that open adoption doesn't mean that you have to include the birth parent. Open adoption starts in your home, where you're truthful with your child about how your family came to be, right? And not covering it up. I just had a conversation with a gentleman who was telling me that his younger sister didn't know until a few days before her mother's death, that she was adopted, right? So we don't want those kind of situations. We don't want, thankfully it landed with her well, but you can imagine that it could be a very devastating conversation or reveal. And if we start children with knowing their truth from the beginning, that it's not shameful, it's not something to be afraid of, doesn't diminish who you are or what your relationship in our family, then it's a good thing. And they feel empowered, they feel chosen, they feel welcomed, and that they have a specific part in that family that God put them there for.
Yeah. Absolutely. I love that. And yes, I mean, for our children, it's always been, you know, yes, babies come from women's bellies. Sometimes it's your mom, sometimes it's another mama. And, always kind of speaking to their level and having that open
Exactly.
communication. Yeah. I love it.
That's it. Speaking to their level. Before you ask, how much do you reveal if there's substance abuse? You just reveal what they can handle at that moment, right? A
Mhm.
child doesn't need to know. They don't even understand what substance abuse means,
Right.
right?
No.
So you don't even deal with that. As they get older and they can understand, you can introduce those little tidbits about
Mhm.
their birth parents' journey with them.
Yep. Once they're at that stage. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I love this. So I'm curious, how are you currently finding new clients to work with these days?
Yeah, so I'm doing a lot of social media.
Mhm.
I have a site called openadoptionsuccess.com,
Mhm.
and I have all of my podcast guesting on there.
Mhm.
Originally, I thought I wanted to do a podcast, but it's just too much with a new business. So
Mhm.
I'm finding a lot of success with being guests on podcasts
That's
and
awesome.
using that as a tool to get my message out and putting it on social media. And
Mhm.
people are finding me. What I find is that it's such a touchy subject that people are not necessarily responding to the social media posts
Mhm.
live, like in
Mhm.
comments, but they are doing it in DMs,
Oh,
right? Because they don't
interesting. Yeah.
necessarily want people to know
That they're
that
curious about that.
that
Yeah.
they're curious.
Mhm.
There's a lot of clients feel judged,
Yeah.
that you're too old to do this. Why are you? And that time passed. So they're working out the mindset and the record playing in the back of their head right now. And then as they talk with me, then they feel more relaxed. People always say, "You have such a good vibe. You make me feel so calm." And that's my goal. Is I just want
Mhm.
you to have a serious conversation with yourself.
Mhm.
Um, so I'm finding it through lead magnets as well, referrals.
Mhm.
People see my story. I post in my stories online my pictures with my daughter, so they see
Mhm.
that. Um, and it's although I'm not telling every single person that I walk up to or that I cross paths with that my daughter's adopted, but if there's a conversation that lends to it, it's easier just to say, what the truth is.
Yeah.
Um, and I find that truth really is a great magnet.
Yeah.
It's a great lead magnet.
I love that. That's wonderful. So, where do you want to grow from here? What's next?
So, oh my goodness. Someone asked me on my last guesting, do you want to see more people doing the kind of coaching that you're doing about open adoption? I was like, you know what? I never thought of that. That would be wonderful because that means that more babies
Mhm.
are getting homes that can love and support them. That means that there's a birth mother that doesn't have to choose abortion
Mhm.
to as a way of dealing with her temporary situation. So
Right.
I love that idea.
Mhm.
But most immediately is working with more clients in a group setting. I'm doing a
Mhm.
lot of privates. I would like to grow that to groups,
Love that.
and even a mastermind.
Mhm.
And then yeah, that's where I'm at that with this particular business, the open adoption coaching.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful. I think there's a level of community that would be really empowering for your clients to be able to get to know others, especially, I mean, it's a unique situation and it's a unique situation with open adoptions and like it's just different. I know of families I think that have adopted, but nobody that is in the thick of it like we are, right? In the
Right.
childhood years going through all of that. And so I think there'd be a lot of benefit for your clients just being in that group setting. So I think that's wonderful. Absolutely do a group program. Keep doing the podcast guesting. All of that stuff sounds wonderful. When you have the bandwidth, I would encourage you to create your own podcast because I feel like this topic is a podcast topic
Okay.
because people do want to do the research. They want to listen. They want, especially think of your ideal customer is a successful professional woman who's now toying with a concept that might be controversial, right? And she wants to do her research and investigate. A safe place for them to do so would be tuning into a podcast to learn about the adoption journey and adoption stories and all of these sorts of things, to give them the peace and the comfort of like, okay, I actually think I want to move maybe potentially forward with this, right? And I think with the, the interactive piece of social media, and I think podcasting should be your place, because I think it's kind of a safer zone for people to explore and would fit well for your target audience.
That actually makes sense, hearing it broken down like that. And there is room to make bandwidth for it. So I'm going to definitely put that on my list, my goals for 2025.
Perfect. And yes, if you can get VAs and stuff for relatively inexpensive, that can help really do it for you. And it is simpler. It doesn't have to be super complex.
Right.
So, and
what do you think about a mastermind?
I think, whether it's a mastermind or group coaching, I think you should have a community. There's so much value to your clients and people on this journey to have that community atmosphere. It just makes sense. So, whether they graduate from one-on-one and then join the mastermind, or it's a different entry point altogether, or whatever that looks like, you do need a community element for sure.
That's actually what I'm working on right now, the community element. So I'll start considering bringing the podcast into that community as well.
Yeah. And we can chat offline. I have all kinds of ideas for you, but I think that's just a beautiful way to get your message out there and serve people.
I love it. It.
Wonderful. So if people want to learn more about you, where should they head?
You should definitely head to openadoptionsuccess.com. And then I have I was telling you before about this incredible summit that I'm planning in Vegas in early 2025 called She's Extraordinary. And so there's she'sextraordinary.com as well. That website is right now being built. It's an exciting way for women to create community, to come together on various topics. It came out of my own personal journey as a woman from 30, dealing with fertility and career changes. I've changed careers so many times. I mean, I have left. This topic has empowered me so much to leave real estate behind for the most part and start this new career, which has been incredible. So I just felt like between my 30s and now I'm close to 60. Can't believe it. My daughter, remember I told you my daughter was 46. I was 46 when my daughter was born, and she's now almost 10. So yeah. And
you don't look it at all. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. Thank you. But there were so many life moments during that time that I just wish I had somebody else, almost like what you're doing right now with me, that could coach me along the way. And so this summit brings together celebrities, musicians, and around great topics like we're talking right now. And so find me at openadoptionsuccess.com or she'sextraordinary.com.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. This has been a wonderful conversation. We really appreciate you, Isle.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, go check her out. This is a beautiful conversation, and I think everyone should really be celebrating and supporting adoption in whatever way that you can. So share it, like, subscribe, do all the good stuff. And if you're curious about how to be featured on one of our podcasts, head to the show notes and apply. Have a blessed day.